do a lot of talking, 3 bottles of
Well, they worry about me, so they always take overly good care of me, and I'm so grateful for that. So it's better than, somebody saying, do you need some water? Okay, well, all right, You, I could imagine that. Oh, he was such a brilliant man, wasn't he? Brilliant, brilliant man, and a heart of compassion that if we could just imitate that, and that would just be lovely. But yes, we could. We could all use a giant dose of that. Amen. So let's make our own doses, and have be ourselves, but do it with love and passion. So that is good. Amen. All righty, we're gonna get started in just a second. She's good? She's good. I'm loving it. Hey, how are you again? It's good.
I brought my husband.
Oh, good. Where is he?
The back table.
Oh,
right
good,
there.
good. Oh.
Very few times he's been out. So
Well, I'm glad he's out here today.
Horrible.
Amen. Amen. So glad you came back.
Thank you. I wanted to hear it.
And he went, good.
And the one who was helping us said she had seen you do the one about the baby that was taken.
Betsy Costner, yes. Yeah. That's a really good program, but when I have it's a lot of learning. Oh, you're very good. You're very kind.
He said, tell me about it. I said, I can't.
It just got to come see. Amen. I love it. Thank you for coming. Well, good. See you soon. It's okay. No. It's okay. You're perfectly fine. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Quickly, just go ahead and take your seats. We'll get started. Hope everyone's having a great day thus far. It started out a little cold, and we know there's some cold weather on the horizon next week, 21 degrees and all that. It feels good outside today, so we're just so thankful for this day. I am not Adam Dixon, obviously. Those of you who know Adam, I am not Adam. My name is Kelvin Scott. Adam has a meeting that was previously scheduled, so he said he's going to try to be here. But I would like to take this time to welcome everyone to the Langston Center. Is this your first time being with us today?
Yay! Yay! Awesome. Yes.
So just a little bit, we're going to go ahead and get out of the way we want. First of all, let you know the restrooms are in the back. Men on my left, women on my right. We also do have, if there's an emergency, we have the elevator. We don't use the elevator for somebody. We have a set of stairs, and then we also have an emergency exit over here. So now we've got that out of the way. We would like to again welcome you to the Langston Center. This center was actually a school, began in 1893, and it actually served the black community, some of the black students for Johnson City and also Washington County. 1965, of course, when the orders came down to integrate all of the schools, that was the last graduating class from this school. And we do have a bit of history. Wave your hand right here. Church member, wave. Y'all throw your hand up. We have some of the, right here, we have some of the family members of those that was actually part of the lineage here for Langston. So let's give them a hand.
Yes.
This building lay dormant for a long time and used to actually house our maintenance facility, headquarters for our school district. And then they decided to move that to another place. This building had actually got run down, broken windows, mold, mold, asbestos, and things of that nature. And plans were to tear it down, but some of the alumni said, no, we need to be able to preserve this as a part of our rich history.
Amen.
So long story short, they got together, got with the city decided to save this and reopen this and call it the Langston Center. So we are getting ready to celebrate 6 years of being
Yay!
We had a 5-year celebration last year, and we are just so elated and so excited for everything that we have been able to experience here as a city. So we represent a threefold approach to what we do. We respect the past, we recognize our present, and we realize our future. So this building actually embodies all of that. I know Adam can say it much better than I can, so I won't
You did pretty
bore you with
good.
all those details, but when we respect our past, we remember those things, those graduates of Langston, those that actually had to endure, and we now stand on their shoulders so that we can
Absolutely.
operate in the present. We have modern day programs that we offer. We have ESL classes, all types of learning things. We do field trips and all of those good things. And then that helps us to prepare our young people for the future. We have to be able to leave this in good hands for those that are coming behind.
Amen.
So that is what we do here at Langston. We are the only multicultural center in this area. So all of our programming is really geared towards education, community engagement, and community involvement. You're in what was the original gymnasium for Langston. Part of the floor is still original, other than back there where water kind of got in and messed everything up. So you are now living and breathing a part of history of Johnson City. So we thank you for being with us. I want to relinquish this microphone. If there is anything that you need, please let us know. Y'all don't go tell Adam, because he'll be mad at me. Kelvin, why didn't you do this? So if there's anything that we can do to make you stay here comfortable, is the temperature okay? Anybody cold? Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to get out of the way. Thank you all for being with us. If you need anything, please let us know. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Kim O'Connor, and on behalf of the International Storytelling Center, I just want to welcome you here this afternoon. So good to see your faces. I also want to thank Langston Center for having us, and thank all of you for turning off your cell phones. If you haven't had the chance to do that yet, now would be a great time. Just as a quick order of business, I want to let you guys know that during the first break, I'm going to be passing around a clipboard. If you are so inclined, we would love if you would add your email address. This is just for the purposes of this project. We'll be soliciting feedback about the event. And then a website will launch next year, early 2026, and we can send you a link to that just so you can see Sheila's performances online. Yeah, so our event today is part of a much larger project called More Than One Story. It's about community building and storytelling. It's funded by New Pluralist. And one of the big ideas behind the project is that the way we talk about the past or choose not to talk about it really informs the way that we all live together in the here and now. Here to connect those dots for us today is Sheila Arnold, who many of you know. She's here with us from Virginia, locally beloved, nationally renowned, and a very gifted artist and educator. She's also very passionate about history, and luckily for us, she's learned a lot about this area of East Tennessee that she'll be sharing with us here today. I know she loves it here so much, and we're so glad to have her, so please help me welcome Sheila Arnold.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody can hear me okay? All right, that's good. Now I have to ask a question before I do anything. I'm going to be sitting sometimes, I'll be standing sometimes. Is it preferable for me to be at this level? I can be up at the second level. Would you prefer that I'm up at the second level? Yes? Yes?
You're fine, but unless it's you're very loud up front with those speakers. I don't know how.
Okay, well, it's just, okay, we can tell them about speakers up front. But this sitting up would be better up here for me, for y'all. All right, Kelvin, we're making that change. So he's so willing to do everything for me and make that happen and such. And then my wonderful person who's filming in the back, which is James Gilley, is ecstatic now that I'm up here rather than down at the ground. So that'd be fine. We'll turn that there. and then I'll figure out how I'm going to get up there. I'm going to use the stairs, okay. And will you give me a little something to sit beside it? Something that, thank you so much, sir. All right, let's see what I can do. I like being close to y'all. Y'all trying to get me away from you. I don't know about all that. Okay, thank you. I love how beautiful this place is. Oh my goodness. Yes, sir? See? I'm so cared for. All right. And then I just, get a little table. Thank you so much, sir. All righty. And no dancing up here on the top because y'all might watch me fall or something. Go ahead and dance. I got my boots on. Okay, so, hello again. Oh, I just want to be closer to you, that's all. But that's okay. I am delighted to be here and to share a little bit of stories. It's extraordinary to be in this space. As people were getting ready to purchase this space, I had the joy, the honor to help with the fundraiser, to be one of the people to help with the fundraiser to help make this happen. And I did that, and we had a program at the International Storytelling Center, and where I represented the spirit of the school, which was an amazing program. And but I learned so much along the way, and it was just extraordinary. So this was kind of my first delving into, thank you, sir, first delving into the East Tennessee side. And then because I did this program, I also was invited to Oak Ridge, and I did some programming there. And then long before that, the International Storytelling Center had asked me to talk a little bit about abolitionists in this area. So the East Tennessee is kind of a second home, and several people when I walked in said, "Welcome home," and this is let me tell you, I like my home. I live in Hampton, Virginia. I love my home. I ain't giving that up for nobody, y'all. I like y'all. I love visiting. I'll come a lot, but I ain't living here. I like home. It's good. But there's not very many places that I get to call that I get to say it's like coming home in so many ways. So thank you so much. To start us off, I just want to make sure that we have a couple things that we have started off. First is, everybody look around you. I said this earlier, but for those who were here, just look around you. And we're going to, something's going on with my phone. It's having a conversation with me.
Next steps or guidance on how to continue.
What are you doing? Lord, I did not ask for any of that. And it's like, hi, how are you? Like, I don't know you. And I was like, I didn't even say Alexa, and it just started talking to me. Okay, whatever. That was weird. So the first thing is, look around. This is going to be a program where I tell a story, and then we're going to conversate. So I want you to look around to the left and right of you, okay? Look who's to the left and to the right of you, and make sure that you're looking to the left and the right. Look to the right. Look over to the other. You didn't look on that side at all, ma'am. You didn't look that way. Look over that way. There you go. There's some people there too. All right. Don't forget who's around you. And so we're going to conversate with each other. But I don't want you to always just conversate with people that you just know. So if you are like beside somebody and you kind of know them pretty well, I will encourage you for at least one of the conversations to get up and go to somebody you don't know and have a conversation, okay? And just to get an experience of appreciating somebody else. The very first thing that we can learn, this is free of charge, it's all yours, is, be aware of where we are. We don't want anybody alone, and no one in here is sat alone, which is great. And no one, people have made sure they've included them, but be aware of your surroundings. And one of the things that we can do in being aware of our surroundings is be aware, like, am I sitting at a table where I know everybody? I'm in a whole new place, I'm coming to something. If I'm sitting at a table that I know everybody, sometimes it's great. Haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you. Love seeing you. Let me catch up. But at the same time, who can you meet that's new? Who can you meet that is different? Who can you meet? And you might meet somebody and go, don't ever want to meet them again. I mean, you can have that moment, okay? But you can't have that moment till you do that moment, okay? Because you also might meet somebody and say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much we have in common. Because that's when you find out that, people's people know people's people, and then people's people know people's people. You ever have that situation where you start talking about one thing, and next thing you know, and then that's how it goes. But you have to do that intentionally sometimes. So I want you to think about as we do that. So that's first. And then number 2, this is a safe space. And when I say safe space, this is what I mean. When we get to hard subjects, we do not avoid them, and we try not to judge. I always say try not, because there's always a part of us that does. But even in that trying not to judge, we still listen, and we don't just shut down because they said something that we didn't appreciate. And we listen, and then we thoughtfully and carefully respond. That is a safe space. This is not a safe space. You are not allowed to say this, and this in this room. That ain't safe. That's not a safe space. What that is a space that tells you that only certain things can be handled because the people in here cannot handle it. So we're going to be a safe space. Does that make sense? So when we say things like religion, politics, gender orientation, race, I've already put all those words out there, okay? So you don't have to run away from them, all right? So there we go. I cleared the air. We can talk about all of those in here because there may be times to talk about them. Does that make sense? Anybody have a question on that? And as a note to you, those of you who are, and many of you in here are involved in many organizations, create safe spaces in your organizations. Not spaces that things are just unpermitted, but ways that you can grow. You don't grow as a community unless you talk about the hard things. You just don't. And we can grow as a community. We talk about the hard things, and then we are willing to work through as much as we can. Sometimes we have to just kind of leave it alone, come back to it again in a little bit, but we're still working through it. All right, that was number 2. And number 3 is something that I really thought about the other day, and now it's gone. So it's gone. So we're going to start with the word community before I start with the story. What does the word community mean to you? I was with some high schoolers on Tuesday and asked them this question and loved their answers so much. I said, I'm changing the way I do this program. Okay, that's good. I changed the way I do this program, so I'm going to start with that. So what does community mean to you? What does that mean? What is that word? This is the part where you participate. Raise your hand. I can't see you. Who? Yes?
Connection.
A connection. Community is a connection. Okay.
Where we all live together.
A community where we all live together. Does it require living together in order to be a community?
No.
It does not. I can prove that by Zoom calls. I have friends I have met over Zoom that are truly, truly my community. And it's hilarious because when we meet each other in person, we feel like we've known each other forever and ever, but we just didn't realize the other person was smaller or shorter, taller or shorter than I thought they were. You ever have that moment where you're like, girl, you are short. I had no idea. Or, whoa, Lord, okay. So, but yes, but we live together. There's a space that we come together. What is other words, what are other meanings for community? Yes, over here, and then you over there.
It's the space that usually people that you share values or goals, a direction that you want to.
Okay.
I think of community as like I can go to Foster's house and get free fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
You help each other.
You help each other. You help each other. Now, does a community require that you have shared goals and values? Oh, there's some thought about that. Maybe so. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
I'm going to go back to what I was going to say.
Okay.
To me, it's those you interact with, and that can be good, bad, or indifferent. It can be on many different levels, but it's those you interact with.
Okay, those you interact with. Okay, which is different because that means that you don't necessarily have shared values and mores and such like that. Yes, what was your thought?
So I was thinking about, do they need, and I was already thinking that before you questioned, do they have to have the same goals? Maybe if they don't have the same goals, maybe there's something common that ties them together. Maybe not on purpose. We think more of on purpose. But some
I like
things
that.
aren't like tying together on purpose.
Okay, I think sometimes, community doesn't know that it's community. Are we community in here today? Now, we're at least a congregation of people that we're hoping that we connect together in some way or another, all right? But I am certain that we have a variety of values and thoughts and ideologies. The only reason you're all here is because I'm beautiful, and that's why you're here. And so that's really, really good. Did I say that out loud? Oh my gosh, what in the world? Yes.
Sometimes I think community is also loneliness, because sometimes I feel lonelier in a community of people. Sometimes alone.
That's an interesting space to be in. When you are alone in a community of people, I wonder if that community is taking care of you well. I do. Yeah, and I think that the community, even I don't know if that's community if people are, if you're feeling alone. Now, I can feel alone with people, but here's in Malawi, when I was in Malawi, over on the eastern side of continent of Africa, in Malawi, when someone dies, you don't go and bring them wonderful potluck dishes and things like that. You don't do that. What you do is you knock on their door and you say, I'm here to sit with you. And that's what you're there for. You're there to sit with them. You don't eat their food. You don't make food. You sit with them. You just sit. And as the person is doing whatever they're doing around the house, your presence is there. Your presence. So when they do have a moment at the washing dishes and the tears come, your presence is there. And I think that's a beautiful way. So for me, when we are alone in a community, I think that sometimes means our community is not taking care of us, has not looked for us. I'm going to leave that there because it sounds like some of y'all are beginning to think, or that sounds, it sounded really quiet. That's what it sounded like, right? It just got really super quiet and like, are there people that we're not taking care of in our community? The people that might feel alone. Are we looking around enough to make sure? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So those are the three things I remembered, that has a community and safe space, and that we are, what was the first one? To be aware. Good gracious, it's been a long day, guys, already, and I haven't done anything. All right, so let's start with, song. I shall not be moved. I shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. Oh, I shall not be moved. You all know this song. I shall not be moved. Oh, I shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. Oh, I shall not be moved. That is what one of the early Embry family members said when the stone house was built. The Embry house was built. He said, "This house shall not be moved." And over time, that house still stood and still even stands today. But the things that happened inside that house, the people who lived in that house had a variety of different thoughts. I want to share with you about Elihu Embry. Elihu Embry was a Quaker man, and he returned back to Washington County from being up in the Pennsylvania era. His family, long before, had built a house here and had a name for themselves. Somebody y'all might recognize the name Embryville that is around here. That is recognizing his family. He moved down here to work with his brother on an iron ore manufacturing, is what his job was. It was part of what his job. But what he really wanted to do was be a newspaper man. He really wanted to put the word out. And so eventually he joined the Abolitionist Society, and he put out the very first abolitionist newspaper in the entire country called the Manumission Intelligencer. It came out every week, and still it didn't really make a lot of money, so he decided to change the name to the Emancipator, and that came out once a month, and starting in 1820. But he had something inside his soul that challenged who he was and what he believed. And that's the story I'm going to tell you. It begins in This particular story begins August 1820. The wind whipped through the eaves in the house, and as it did, it knocked off right there near the door. It knocked the pitcher down to the ground and the nail out again. Elihu Embry was in his study and he heard it, and so he called out, "Frames! Frames!" He received no answer. "Frames!" He stood up, but not before he pulled open his desk and pulled out a hammer. He knew it would be needed. And he went to the front door, opened it, and said, "Frames!" Up from the garden stood a tall young man, 6'1", light skinned and covered with dirt. His hands were covered, his clothes were covered, and he said, "Yes, sir? Frames, I need your help here, please, your assistance." "All right, sir." As he got closer to the house, he brushed off his hands, he wiped off as much dirt as he could, and when he got to the door, he kicked his feet on the bottom part of the entryway so he'd get that dirt off. "Yes, sir, how might I help you, sir?" "Frames, I need you to put the picture back up there again." Frames shook his head. "Sir, why do you keep this picture here? It always blows down. Why do you keep it here?" "I want it there, that's what I wanted." And he walked in and he saw that the nail was down and the picture was down, and so first he looked. Oh, there it is. Huh? Picked up the nail. "You got the hammer?" "That all right, sir?" "That'd be fine. That's good." And Elihu began to make a journey back to his office, but not before Frames said, "Sir, what them words say? Why you got them here all the time?" Those words, you know what those words say. I've been teaching you to read a bit. You know what those words say. Go on and read them yourself, Frames." "I don't know. I don't feel comfortable reading." His face scrunched up, his eyes got all, Elihu knew he could read those words, Frames could. But he knew that Frames was concerned that others would learn that he could read. And a slave reading in 1820 was a dangerous thing. "I don't know them words, it just makes me uncomfortable." "All right then. I'll read them for you. Freedom is the natural right of man, and as a member of the Abolitionist Society, I advocate for the manumission of all slaves." And the Abolitionist Society, Frames, that is the first article in our Constitution to put up those words in a conspicuous place so all can see. "You believe those words, sir?" And Elihu wanted badly. He wanted badly to stand up and say, "Yes, I believe those words. Of course I believe those words. Didn't I start the Manumission Intelligencer? Didn't I have the first abolitionist newspaper? Didn't I start the Emancipator? Haven't I been one that has stood up strong and said that we should manumit all of our slaves? Have I one of the Quakers that believed that we should not have slavery? Am I not one who is known for speaking up for those who have no voice themselves? Yes, I believe these words. Yes, I do." But he couldn't say that. He couldn't say that because his words and his actions did not always meet. In his second marriage, Elihu's new wife brought into the marriage with her some slaves. And for Elihu, it was, it began to be something that he liked. There was prestige that came with owning slaves. There was money, and he could use collateral and have them for collateral for whatever he wanted to do. And there was time. He had more leisure time. And so he began to get used to this. And he purchased a woman, Nancy, and her 5 children, including frames. And he purchased a husband and wife and their 1 child. And now he was a slave owner. He always would say later on that it was during my deist years when I was not a good Quaker. But over time it became challenging, and he did have to use some of his slaves as collateral for what he wanted to be able to do to help with the store and with the business that his brother had, he and his brother had. And then the husband and wife had another child. How was he supposed to care for everyone? How was he supposed to make sure that all could eat, that all could have clothes, shoes on their feet, things that they could do? How could he help do that? There was no way. He didn't have the funds for it. So he sold the father. And he saw the change. He saw how the wife and the child, the older child, what sadness they had inside of them. He saw the fear in Nancy and the children, wondering when it would be their turn to be sold. He saw their hesitancy around him. And only that, he began to return to the Quaker way of life. And at those friends' meetings, he was struck to the soul about what he had done. He needed to make a difference. He needed to change this. And so he attempted to do such. He asked a friend to purchase the man who had been owned by somebody else, but take the husband and purchase him. And then he, gathering what money he could as well, he gathered enough money to make sure that the woman and their child, the wife and the 2 children, could be also purchased by his friend. So at least the family was together. He wanted to write something that said he could manumit Nancy, but in order for that to happen, he would have to have money to be able to spend to make that happen, and it would not mean her children would be free, just her. And he would have to move her out of the state of Tennessee. He could not afford such. And so, he was a man who wrote an abolitionist newspaper and owned slaves. He wrote in one of the papers that it was to his shame that he owned anyone. And he could understand if God himself did not allow him entrance, and if people saw him for what he was. If people gave him grace to be something else, that was a kindness. So he looked at Frames and at those words. I do believe those words. I wish so much that I could make you free. But I wish I could make you free, Frames. And Frames raised up his 6'1" body, strong and muscled, and turned to the man and looked him in the eye, looked Elihu in the eye and said, I am free. Do you think that just because my name is on a piece of paper, that you can take away my freedom? I know who I am. And I know that inside I am free, and when I am ready to be more free, I know where I will go. You're a wise young man. Anything else, sir? No, Frames. Thank you for your work. Still don't think we need to have this thing hung right here. It's just going to fall off the wall again. And we'll put it back up again. I want these words to be seen, not just by everybody who comes in there. I want your mama to see these words. I want your sisters to see these words. I want your brothers to understand these words. I want them to see them and know they have the right, that freedom is a natural right of everyone. They have the right to be free. Yes, sir. At that, Elihu began to cough. Frames knew that he wasn't feeling as well. He'd been watching him. Sir, Mama has some food in there for you to eat. You might want to go on ahead and eat some, you ailing and all. He just looked at the picture, the words. Frames went on back out. And Elihu kept looking at those words. Freedom, the natural right. And then, the hammer still in his hand, he walked into the kitchen to be served. The publisher of the Emancipator, to be served by the one he owned. Okay, so the actual, that is a fictional scene, but it's a true thing. The very first article of the Anti-Abolitionist Society was to put up that conspicuous sign so everyone would see when they walked in who they were. They knew, when you walked in this house, you knew who he was, for good or for bad. That's what you did. He died in December of 1820. And so it was cut short, the Emancipator was. You can buy a book about it, I have it somewhere in there, and you can read more of his words. And he was very open about the fact that he was, when he was confronted, somebody said that he was a slave owner, and others began to say, no, he wasn't. He said, no, yes, I am. This is who I am. And so when we tell this story of Elihu, when they put up a wonderful plaque about him, in that plaque, it says, on this site, was published, The Manumission Intelligencer and the Emancipator, edited and published by Elihu Embry and printed by Jacob Howard. These were the first periodicals in the United States devoted exclusively to abolition of human slavery. But it never says anything more about the man. So I want to ask you to share with each other, talk about each other, just see, do you think that more should be shared about who this man was? About maybe some of the contradictions in his life? And then how do we talk about people and share about people who might have contradictions? What should we say as we talk about them through history? Take some time and talk with each other. That's what I meant to. That was the thing I forgot. Yeah, that's the thing I forgot to say. There's more than one. Like, got it. Good.
I had a different view of it just written than I do now. It sounded, reading the plaque, it sounded like higher problem than regular people at the time or something. That he decided that it was
about 30 seconds more. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Y'all sound so good. We gotta start a choir right now. Good things. Well, I was just listening, just kind of peeking and hearing, and I enjoyed just the parts of the conversations that I got to hear. What I enjoyed most was just looking around and seeing you talking and sharing with anybody. It's a little bit of a challenging question, isn't it?
Very.
And you said, I overheard you saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And I think that's important. And others were learning more about this person, that we hear or we see on a plaque, but how do we share the past? Is it important? And I will say to you that many times when we take a look at our history and we admit to the ugly in the past, it allows us to then go, okay, this person can be trusted, or this situation, now we can build on, now that we at least know what the truth is, we can now build on that. We can take that moment, know that the truth is out there, and we can change the things here forward. Sometimes when we don't look at or admit to the truth, it's the thing that holds us back. Because we don't want to look at it. We want to be, everything's perfect. When I did this with the students, one of the students gave us as an example George Washington. He said, he's a president, but he was a slave owner. And he said, I think we need to talk about that more as well. I mean, he did both of those things. And one of the things I always say to students is and I forgot to do it this time, but what I usually say to students is that in order for him to be president, it was the fact that he was an enslaver gave him the opportunity to be a president, because he had free and leisure time. And the only reason he had that is because he owned people. We have to recognize that the people that signed that were able to work on our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, the reason they had free time is because of the people that they owned. So how important are the people that they owned? Important enough for us to be able to have what we have today. So when people say, no, you should look at 1619 as a start, you're like, yeah, that gave them the free time to be able to do the things that we have as a country. Else we wouldn't have that, guys. Yeah. Good, I'm glad you hadn't thought of that before. Yay, I love that. So 2 things. One of them is the thing that I forgot to tell you at the beginning that now I was reminded to tell you. One is that the stories that you're going to hear today, these 3 stories are the same 3 stories that you will hear at any other program that I do. So the programs that I did on Monday and Tuesday are the same stories, sorta. Because they're all going to change every day, which Kim and Susan, who are following me around, know that like something changes in the story every time that they've heard the story, I'm certain. I now have a hammer in the story, which I forgot to have in the beginning story, and I was like, okay, so we got a hammer in the story. But so they are the same stories, and we're having conversations, but I will say the conversations will always go someplace different, and I'm always learning from you all, so I add what I learned from you all, and I put it into the presentations. So that's number 1. Number 2, there is a wonderful clipboard going around for you to sign sign your name and stuff like that. So even while I'm talking, you just pass that clipboard around from table to table, and after it finishes this table, it can go back over. It can go over to that table because they haven't signed it yet. All right, everybody, good? All right. So I am going to share with you another story. Are you ready for another story? Yes. Okay, y'all did. You did so. Oh, thank you for clapping. And I haven't done anything yet. Lord have mercy. I always feel special when you're like, I haven't done anything yet. Do they not know how awful it's going to be? No, this is one of my favorite stories. So this is good. September 6, 1955. L.C. Gibson stood at the bus stop with the other students. He kept patting his pocket to make sure the money was there because he was riding the city bus to school. He didn't have to ride the city bus in previous years, but now he did, and he wanted to make sure he had the money to be able to do it. He stood at the bus stop with students that he'd always known or seemed to always know. His best friend was there. Usually they would just go to school. They went to Scarborough, and they lived in the Scarborough community. It was the colored community of Oak Ridge, you know, where they say, what you see here, what we do here, what you hear here, you never talk about it. Yes, they built the bomb and such there. But now their Scarborough school, well, the high school was being closed down. The school was the shape of an L, and the whole time you were in first to sixth grade, you were in that part of the L. Or sorry, first to eighth grade, you were in that part of the L. But when you got to high school, you got to turn the corner. But he wouldn't be turning the corner. He wouldn't get that. And so he and his friend that usually walked to school, they would sometimes run around and go to get some snacks from the store beforehand. Now they would be going to separate schools. He was going to be going to Oak Ridge High School, and his friend, a year younger in grade, would be going to Roberts Junior High School. They would just have first through fifth in the Scarborough school from now on. He listened to what some of the other students were talking about. Some of the older students talked about the fact that one of the white students from Oak Ridge, from the journalist program, some of the students had come over to Scarborough, and they had looked at it and introduced themselves. And even one of the girls from the Oak Ridge had said, "How do you go to school with so little? You don't hardly have anything." And he looked at some of the youngest. One was 11 years old. She was going to the Roberts Middle School for sixth grade. She kept reaching in her pocket and pulling out the money and putting it back in and reaching it out and said, "I have to keep this, I have to keep this. Keep it, I have to keep it, I have to keep it." Trying to remind herself as if someone had said it to her over and over and over again. She shouldn't have had to ride the bus either. Soon the bus came, the city bus, and he got on, he paid his money, and he sat down, and it went down Wilberforce Road, then turned onto Tuskegee, and at Tuskegee, then it went over, and it went on its way to Oak Ridge High School. All the streets in Scarborough, all of them were named after historically black colleges and universities. Education was very important, and they had it pounded into their head every day. They would talk about what school they were going to go to. He'd always thought maybe Tuskegee to be an airman. Today he kind of felt like an airman, going someplace he had never gone before. When they pulled up to the school, there were white students that were waiting for them, waiting to help them get to their classes. He knew he should be happy about this, but he wasn't. He wasn't. He was scared. He was 14 years old, and he should have just been going around the corner. But no, he was in a different school. He was in a school that he knew some people didn't even want him there. And he was 14. And only 10 days before, the body of a 14-year-old kid in Money, Mississippi, a guy named Emmett Till, his body rose up in the water, beaten bruised, drowned. He was 14. And when he looked to his Mississippi grandparents who were raising him, his Mississippi-born grandparents, and he said, "Why did they do that to him?" He said, "We don't know, but you have to be careful." And they reminded him of the rules. Don't look at no white person in the eye. Keep your head down. Don't bump into any white person. You keep your space. Be a manly child. Be a manly child. And be safe. Be safe. But he didn't know what that boy did. He didn't know if he would do it, and didn't know he would. He followed the student that led him, followed him through the school. When he got to the room, he made sure he remembered the numbers. He walked in, he said good day to his teacher, and the teacher just pointed to a seat in the back. And that's where he sat down. And he wondered if that's what it would be like every single day. And for Elsie, it was like that every day for 4 years. Every day he tried to make himself smaller. He made sure that he didn't bump into people. He didn't get too close to folks. And sometimes if things seemed a little disturbing, he would walk the long way around, which meant outside the building to get to the next class. There were a few teachers that were the colored teachers, but most of them just worked in the cafeteria and such like that. And that's how he spent his time. Some of his classmates, they joined the student council. Others, well, some of them, 3 of them, joined the basketball team. They played with, well, they practiced with the basketball team. But they couldn't play. Just as they would get ready to get on the road to go to play at another school, they would get a phone call and say, "The school won't play us if you're wrong with us." But he was there on that December 3rd day. That December 3rd in their own gym, when 2 of the players, 2 black players, were substituted in. It was a big time. It wasn't a few moments, but they were substituted in. And the New York Times wrote about it. 2 players play on integrated team. Segregation is gone. And then he graduated. When Elsie graduated, he went to school, went to college, eventually came back home to Oak Ridge, had a family, purchased a home in the Scarborough area. It was interesting to live in the Scarborough area. It's a place that's kind of away from, pushed back away from the rest of Oak Ridge. A beautiful area to be able to be in. And during the times when Elsie was alive, a white person could live in Oak Ridge and never see a black person their entire life. It wasn't the same to be black. You knew you were going to have to interact with somebody that was white and didn't have that option. But people could kind of keep it out of sight and out of mind if they wanted to. But that's where he raised his family, and that's where he lived. And when Elsie got older, he was at a particular meeting. And someone said, "We'd like to introduce to you those, and I'd like to talk to you about and introduce to you the first ones to ever desegregate a school in the Southeast here in Tennessee, because the Clinton 12. And he stood up at that meeting and he said, "That's not true." And someone had the audacity to reach over and touch his hand and said, "Sit down, you don't know what you're talking about." That's not true. What about us? What about me? We integrated first. And he began to start to speak. Suddenly he found a voice. Because what he said he felt was after school we became invisible completely. We were unremembered, unknown. No one cared what we had gone through or that we had gone through anything. You see, there had been no violence there. And because there had been no violence, people felt there was no harm. How untrue it was. So he began to speak with a voice. He began to talk about who they were. And soon enough, some kindly people said, you know what? We should recognize them. We should put up a memorial to them. As a matter of fact, we'll call it the Oak Ridge 85. And the Oak Ridge 85 said, no. We don't want to honor Oak Ridge. We want to honor Scarborough. That's where we came from. So after a little discussion about names, they became the Scarborough 85. And the Scarborough 85, starting in 2026, the Scarborough 85 will be required learning in the Tennessee curriculum. They also have already gotten the money approved from the state, the local, the state, and private donors to build the Scarborough 85 Memorial in Oak Ridge. Feels really good to be a part of that. To help tell their stories some more. But LC says over and over again, he's not invisible. But when I talked to him, when I interviewed him, and he told me his story, he was still a scared 14-year-old boy that had been forgotten until people heard his story. Elsie is an amazing man. I loved being able to interview him. Everybody told me that he won't talk to anybody anymore. They said he didn't like to tell the story anymore because people, he didn't like the way people were telling the story. And so I said, that's fine, I'd like to meet him. Can we go out to eat? And I was like, yeah, you can go out to eat. I've been talking to all kinds of other people. But with him, I wasn't gonna get a story, so I went out to eat. And somebody else was paying for the meal, I was good to go, So we're sitting there and we're eating about halfway through the meal. He says, so when are you gonna ask me about my story? I was like, oh, okay, And that's when I saw him become the 14-year-old boy in front of me, and how he shared his story, how 10 days before that, Emmett Till, how scared a boy must have been to enter that school. But the thing that we talked about over and over again, him and I, was that concept. That concept, because there is no violence, does not mean there is not great harm. So I want you to take a moment and talk about that statement. What does it mean if there's great harm? Is violence the only way that we recognize harm to people? And have you ever been in a situation where you've had great harm and it was not violence? Share a little bit with each other.
You're coming back.
About 30 seconds. If I can help somebody as I sing this song, if I can help somebody to move from wrong, if I can help somebody as we go along, then my living will not be in vain. Then my living will not be in vain. No, my living will not be in vain. As I can have, I can help somebody as I sing this song, then my living will not be in vain. Oh, thank you, thank you. Got a little amen corner going on there for me. All right. Well, the reason I sang "We Shall Overcome" was right before the story of the Oak Ridge story, because they did overcome a lot to do that. And the reason I sing this song, "Living Will Not Be in Vain," is because of this building, of being at Langston. But I gotta start here. I have to start with what happened downtown. I mean, you could begin to hear it. They knew it was definitely a football game was coming from those who were in Langston. They were at a football game coming, and they were waiting downtown. People would collect their children. They would throw open the windows of their business because faintly they could hear coming down the street. Oh my goodness, they could hear them. It was the band, the Langston High School band. Oh, people were starting to lean out. Oh, it got louder. They could hear clarinet and the French horn. They could hear the tuba, the drums that were coming, an oboe or so that was there. Oh, none of the students owned their own instruments, but the instruments had been purchased and almost everybody was given an instrument of some sort. They were given an instrument. The band was as small as 20 at times, as large as 54, but they made that trek up. They walked and walked, and by the time they got to downtown, everybody was outside looking at the band, excited that they were playing. They were wearing their blue uniforms. Just go downstairs, you can check it out. Their blue uniforms with the gold around the trim. They were the Golden Tigers. Yes. They were marching through. Oh, and the drum major was far ahead to make sure everything was okay as they were walking in there. It was an amazing time. They would stop in front of the bank and play a really good song and maybe a little bit of movement as well, although sometimes movement and playing didn't always seem to work right together. But they would play. Oh, they played and people loved that. Oh. Being at Langston High School was amazing, not just because of the band, although the band was pretty cool, but there was so much to do. You felt so secure when you were at Langston, the only colored public high school in this area. It felt so secure. The teachers knew you. They definitely knew you. They knew all about you. They knew your family, and you knew you didn't get in trouble while you were in school, because you were in trouble before you ever got home. It certainly was there. And then there was the the Future Homemakers of America. They had their own club, and they not only had the band, but the football team. It was Coach Christman. Coach Christman was known well for the coaching that he did, and applauded by even the ETSU coaches and such that were around. The superintendent would come to their annual banquet just to make sure he was there. And then there was the girls basketball team, the only girls basketball team in this area. The white schools didn't have a girls basketball team. And the girls basketball team, they would win the regionals every now and then. Every year, one of the black schools would have the art festival, would host the art festival. Oh my goodness. And there was art filled up. And when it came to Langston, they looked spick and span. Mrs. Carson made sure of that. No matter what happened, that was there. And they would also have the opportunity to to be around each other, and the most important thing was walking through that arch. When you were a ninth grader and when you were a seventh grader, and you got to walk through that arch, enter to learn, depart to serve. They pounded it into you every day. You felt it in your blood, but you walked through that arch and you knew you were a Langston person. Oh, it felt so good to be able to be at a school like this, a school where you were treasured and taught and expected, and a school that was given its accreditation before the white schools that were in Johnson City. A school that had as its teachers those who had master's degrees, oftentimes more than the white school did. It was a school with history and culture and a standing. And then in 1964, 13 girls were taken from this school and put into Science Hill High School. 13 girls to test the waters. The teachers, like Callie Reed, they knew something was afoot, but they weren't certain exactly what. And then at the end of 1965, the teachers were handed a slip of paper saying the school Langston would be no more. Those teachers, those good teachers, if they did not live in Johnson City, they weren't even given a job. Some teachers were sent over to North Junior High School, some to Science Hill. Coach Christman, that great coach who had coached so many into the regionals and beyond, he was made the assistant coach for the junior varsity team. The principal, she was made a counselor. Callie, one of the youngest of all the teachers, was put in North without even a room, made to move from place to place all over the building. There was no girls' basketball team. That was lost. And invitations to be a part of the band and other organizations weren't ready to come by. And the music of Langston stopped. And this building, as Calvin told us, got used for lots of different things, and it became more and more worn down. But the Langston alumni remembered that here in this building, they were valuable. Here in this building, they were taught to give. In this building, they were taught to serve. In this building, they were taught to do better than, and they did. They became a part of the administration of this town, the leadership of this town. They were doctors and lawyers and teachers and nurses, and they raised the next generation. And they refused to let their history go. And so they wanted this to be an education center. And they started asking to buy it and asking to purchase, and it took a while for people to agree to do that. When the ceiling went bad, it made it a little bit easier to want to sell it. I had the honor to be asked to help help with one fundraiser that was at International Storytelling Center. I got a chance to hear the words as people had done interviews and sent them to me. Got a chance to meet the alumni. And I got a chance to hear their passion, that they did not want to lose what meant so much. And now we have it. We're here in this amazing building, in this auditorium that had basketball players at one point in time on this floor. There's a lot of history as we walk through this building. And we have things up. Now, every other time I've done this story, I've done a little bit different. I've done something different at the end. But I stopped on my way in, and I looked at the sign that's over there. You know that little plaque over there you probably have never paid any attention to as you walked in? And it talked about Langston. At the end it said that it was, it finished in 1965, and then it said the next line. You can go read it. Next line. In that same year, 1965, all Johnson City schools were integrated. No, it didn't say. All the black schools were eliminated. You see, integration is this. Half the room right here. You all half, you all half. Integration means I take some of y'all folk here and I put them over there. I take some of y'all folk here, I put them over there. We integrated. Desegregation means I take your entire stuff, leave everything where it is, pick yourselves up and move over there. Because this part ain't important. We are giving you the grace, the goodness. We are loving on you. We're giving you what you need here. Because we have a good culture. And what do you have? That sign never says they eliminated. It could have just as easily read, they eliminated a culture of education and never recognized the importance of what was there. Part of my heart cries that that's not even recognized. Even on a sign that's in front. And Adam's probably going back, oh Lord, have mercy. She's causing trouble already. But there's a difference between everybody got integrated and that we just ignore the history. So our last conversation, and we're going to do this one together, our last conversation is about that. Here we are, we're in this building, and now people are coming through this neighborhood, they're coming around here more often, and they're seeing things, and and over time people will start to look at the houses that are around here. They might see one for sale and go, I could look at that house, that looks like a nice house. Then they found out how much it cost, and they're like, whoa, that's a pretty good price. Because you do know in black neighborhoods, the prices are always lower, not because of the care of the quality of houses, but because they always make it lower. That's around this country. So people go, oh, well, I could get a house here for a pretty good price. And suddenly the neighborhood begins to change, and maybe we want that, but how do we also keep the history alive? Keep it honest? How do we progress and also keep our history? How do we find those bridges? So what I'd like for us to talk about is that little piece, as well as anything from the other two stories that comes across your mind that you'd like to share. Open the floor to you all. Are you coming up to me?
I'm coming to see you.
Okay. Why are you coming to me rather than at your seat?
Okay, because Callie Red was in the first group of people inducted into the Johnson City Schools Hall of Fame.
Oh, amen.
She taught in the middle school, and then she taught in the high
High school, yeah.
And Coach Chrisman moved into the administration at St.
Okay,
Cecile.
that's very good.
So those people did rise to the top.
They did. They did. They shouldn't have had to rise because they were already good, but yes, they did. And so yes, the school, and I'm glad to know that there's a Hall of Fame that is great about education. That is awesome. And I had the joy, the honor to meet Callie when we did the fundraiser. She was actually there. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like meeting a rock star for me because I'd heard so much. So yes, they did have an opportunity to rise, but how hard is it to rise when you are already a full coach of a varsity team and you're put down to an assistant coach of a junior varsity? That ain't no joke. That says so, it's so hurtful, so hurtful. Yes, young lady.
Well, it strikes me, at least from my point of view, at my age, of course, that I feel like if we can't move forward, if we're not clear and honest about everything that happened, because like, for something like you mentioned George Washington, talked out of me, is that I was always taught he had wooden teeth, but he didn't. He had his slaves' teeth. He took the teeth from his slaves to make the dentures that he wore. And the fact that that is sugar-coated, and we put on this, oh, they were nicely treated, but we owned people. And it disturbs me that even today, people among my peers won't just say the truth out loud, which is, my ancestors owned people, I'm not proud of it, but I'm not that person, and I'm gonna try and do better as I know better.
Amen.
And that's all I can do as a human being is like, if I know better, I'm gonna do better, and I always try to learn about what's around me. Like, learning that my own family that I thought never would, because I was also taught growing up here in Tri-Cities is that our hills were too rocky for big plantation farms. So we didn't have slaves. And I'm like, that's BS too. Because my family in North Carolina had slaves, and I didn't know about it until a few years ago because of my uncle's genealogy. So what I would like is for us to honor those people because they know their three names, and that's a fight that I don't know how to fight with my family.
Amen. Well, then you just speak up yourself, and that's a really great thing. So speaking up yourself is a beginning, and witnessing, learning their names is a really wonderful beginning. But yes, we need to talk about where we have been, very honestly. And it doesn't mean that we need to sit there and say this is where we have been, but we need to be honest about where we have been, and that those things that we had in the past, sometimes the past doesn't just stay in the past. It creeps right on along with us into the future, and we don't recognize it until we talk about it.
The more you try to hide from the truth or whatever it is, the more the universe is like, hey.
Yeah, that's true. Until we can talk about the truth, it's very hard to,
I kind of avoid my own life. I'm just like, and then little things pop up, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do it.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yay.
And Langston, I lived in Jonesboro, and we had to leave by bus. We went to the 8th grade, then we had to come to Langston to go to school. My heart was pounding when I came to Langston. I love Langston. It gave me my husband, he's passed away now. I was a cheerleader. The teachers, they wrote you right there.
Yes, I did.
And they tell your parents if they done something different. I left here. I went to Durham Business College over in Durham, North Carolina. The beginning of the civil rights struggle, I participated in that. I was jailed twice. Then my husband joined the service, and I traveled with him around a lot of our states and a lot of places. I won't even go into that. But our saying was, and I'll be 84 years old next month. We got what we wanted, but we lost what we had.
We got what we wanted, but we lost what we had. I thank you for sharing. One, thank you for being one of our alumni for this building. Yay! I love that. I'm hoping somebody has interviewed you or done something.
you. I have lots of stories.
Okay, well, I can't be the only person to talk to Adam and Kev, right? Somebody wrote that name down? Okay, gotcha. All right. So, okay, well, he ain't got no choice now. And so what I'm going to encourage him to do, as I always try to do, is we're going to find a young person to interview you. Someone that's in high school and, or in college, to sit down and have a conversation with you and learn from you directly and write that up, okay? So we're gonna hunt that down. We're gonna hunt that down. All right, make that dog happen. All right, so that's good. That's gonna be good. And but it's true. My mama said the same thing. My mother went to a all-black, amazing high school, Dunbar High School in Washington D.C., one of the premier high schools, and had to drive a long, long time to get there. Loved it, and she wanted to have integration, but she said the same thing over. As time went on, she was like, we've lost so much. And it's a lot of it is because what the story is we have integrated. The story was never about what may have been lost along the way, because no one thought they had, most people, and I have had people say this, but we welcomed them into our school. We gave them a better school. Nobody wanted your better school. We just wanted to have the same stuff that you had and work together. Could we do that? But we didn't have that. It was, we are giving you something. Be happy about what you've been given without recognizing what was already there. Yes, ma'am, and then sir.
Yeah, so I live in Bristol, and I'm very familiar with the Langston story, and I've been doing oral story collections of folks in Bristol and what the experience was there. So I'm thinking about what you talked about with the coach not being given an opportunity. So in Bristol, there was a school called Slater, and their coach was Dorsey Sims, and he was an award-winning coach. He was not offered an opportunity to go to Bristol, Tennessee High School. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about his career. So he was an outstanding 28-year prep coaching. He had 600 wins, 4 TSS AA state championships, inducted into the Hall of Fame in both the state of Tennessee and other places. So that's the loss by not giving him an opportunity to coach at Tennessee High School. And then the harm that you talked about, there was a lot of harm, and people did not really get an opportunity to voice what that was like. So doing the oral story collection has really allowed people to talk about what that felt like, because they felt like, what's wrong with our school? You know, we had a great culture, we had great teachers here, but then all of that went away. Of course, the teachers, many of them, did not get opportunities and had to leave the area. So coupled with that, then there was urban renewal that was happening at the same time. So then their neighborhoods, their communities, what they call their villages, were also being removed. So I appreciate what you're doing. I need to figure out how to get you to Bristol so we can do something.
We will work it out, girlfriend. We'll work it out. But it's true, and as we think, we don't, the same things can happen still. The same things have happened already in this town. Many people don't talk about or know about Rowan Hill, which was a community. It was a colored community that was here. And it was, everybody was moved out of the community. But what did they make out of that community? Was it because of roads, or why were people moved out of the Rowan Hill community? Can somebody tell me why? I think it was roads. And in general, in almost all places, and not just the South, so let me be really clear, it's when they're looking to move, well, this is going to be better for our society or our culture or our city right now. Well, where are the poorest, most marginalized people? Those are the ones we need to move. That history goes again and again and again. You, sir.
As I listened to your 3 stories, your first one you asked us a question and we were to converse amongst yourselves. Community. Your last one had one good word for community that wraps it right up while we're here. Langston.
Langston is a good word for community. I like that.
A hell of a community.
It's a hell of a community. Write that one down. That's a quote. He's going to go to the board next week and say, well, what I heard was Langston is a hell of a community. Thank you so much. But it is, and it's, you know, this would not exist if there had not been the kind of teaching and love and perseverance that happened between the teachers and the students in here. And they refused to allow themselves to be lost. But it's hard. It's hard to keep your history alive when the world sometimes wants to just push it to the side. Before you, I think there was, where did she go? Nope, she's not there. Okay, yes.
I resent that we weren't taught real history. So much left out, never knew about, probably, well, don't know, we're in the Black History class, and it's overwhelming the knowledge we don't have, and I resent that they kept it from us.
Amen. I'm glad you're resenting that. That's a good thing. And you know, and a lot of it just comes down to the fact that we have always heard one voice. And so when people this is the thing that always, you know, people, we are changing history. How dare we change history? Well, it's called social science. That's number one. They'll be very happy. Science is always changing. But what is happening is that when we listen to the other voices, it's not that history has changed, it's that history has elongated itself. There's other voices that have to be heard. And when we haven't heard those voices, we've just assumed it's always been this way. That's the way it's always been. Like, nah, let me tell you the other side. Let me tell you something else. And but what I do with your resentment is in you, as you educate yourself, then you share with others. Because you are now a witness. All of you all are. The 3 stories that I told you, you are now all witnesses of. Plus you done sat in this building. You can't kind of get away from that witness itself. So I ask you to take these stories and share them with other people. And as you share them, you are now witness. You've heard these stories, you share them, you learn more about it, and you put your perspective on that, and then you share it with others, and they learn, and they learn, and they learn, and they learn. That is the hope for this community series right now that we're doing, is that people will want to share the stories they are hearing, that they'll want to be different, that they'll want to say, hey, we can be more open about this. So as you look around at each other, I hope that you got the chance to meet some different people. That would be lovely. If you, one way or the other, I hope that you will take with you, you'll see somebody here and you'll say, I didn't get to meet you, but I liked what you talked about. Can I just get your phone number? Or I don't know you and I should just know somebody new because Sheila told me to. And can I get your phone number and maybe we go have a cup of coffee. Maybe we go to the Philosopher's House, which is the tea house. That was lovely, guys. I have to tell you that. We go to the bakery that was over by the Fishman Gallery. That we spend that time together and we talk even more and hear each other's stories. Because all of you have your stories, but you also might have questions. Because sometimes we only saw our part of the story. We didn't have a chance, that wasn't put before us, to see other parts of the story. But we can now change that by those who we incorporate into our world. Okay, real quick, did you want to say something first before, did you have something else that you wanted to say, ma'am?
Oh, me?
Yes.
No, I was sitting here thinking what was.
Oh, she's thinking. It was a deep think too. I was like, okay, she is deeply thinking. I'm loving that, amen. But I want to make sure we're gonna hook you up with a teenage person or college person to do an interview with you because your story is absolutely. All right, so hurry up. She said she might be available today. No, I'm teasing. See that? But you got to get that story out. And don't worry, even in history, we sometimes get the dates and stuff wrong, but it's all right. It's still there. You want to end us, baby girl?
I just wanted to say, I saw you're going to First Broad Street.
I am.
I used to be a member there. But, so I don't know if you know the history of the church, but I thought maybe you, because I would love to hear some stories of that, but there was a black church and a white church that became First Broad Street United Methodist Church.
Okay.
So they were joined together. I just remember growing up, there was the 75th anniversary.
Okay. Well, we learned the other day about the Presbyterian Church. So there was a Presbyterian church here that was a combination that actually had that together.
Stories about that.
Okay, well, I will tell my friends that are there that somebody wants to hear stories about that, and they need to hear those stories. But yes, tonight I will be at First Broad Street United Methodist Church over in Kingsport. Tomorrow I will be at McKinney Center at 7:00 p.m. Also at 1:00 p.m. I'll be doing tea with Sheila over at the Storytelling Resource Center over in Jonesboro. If you want to come and have tea with me, I suppose it's free, it doesn't cost anything. Maybe it does cost some, I don't know, but you can come have tea with me between 1 and 2:30, and then you can come to McKinney. And then on Monday, I'll be over at the Johnson City Public Library at 6 o'clock. That'll be the 6 o'clock program there. And so again, these same stories, but every time we tell the stories, something comes a little different. Emily.
Leticia.
Huh? Leticia. I don't know what I've been doing. I've been confusing you and Emily all day today. Please forgive me. Sorry, Leticia.
Everyone does.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
No worries.
Okay, nope, it's my fault.
So the Storytelling Resource Center requires a reservation. If you're a member and a supporter of it, you can, I think it's part of the membership, but there's a small fee to help raise money for the Storytelling Resource Center for the tea.
Okay, thank you.
You can find it on their website.
Amen. Storyteller Resource Place. So, and Leticia, please forgive me. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Okay, yeah, I know.
You've been introduced on stage to tell stories.
Oh my gosh, that's so, oh my gosh.
Biography, or I mean with her bio, and vice versa.
That's, well, happens to black people all the time. We all look alike. So, you know, I'm going to put you all in the white young girls category. So we're going to do that all right. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to be able to talk with you. I hope you share some time with each other, get some food and things like that. Thank you so much.
Before you dismiss, you still ready to
Yep.
If I could just put one plug in, we were talking about some of the history. Adam, good to see you. He's back here. Wave your hand out. This is the guy that makes all this happen. Can we appreciate him? Just clap our hands for him. He gives us all such a wonderful opportunity here at the Langston Center. We appreciate that. What I was going to say, how many has an iPhone? Raise your hand. All right. How many knows what Spotify is?
Who?
Okay. How many of y'all have no idea what I'm talking about?
Okay.
Okay, all right. You all don't know, if you come talk to me, I'll explain to you. We just completed, I don't know if you know it or not, we just completed our first podcast for the Langston Community History 365 project.
Yep.
So if you go to your iPhone and you type in Langston 365, it will bring up the entire season for the podcast.
Is it on Apple?
It's on Apple Podcasts. You can also find it on Spotify. And Adam, the other one, I'm the media person, I don't even know, but
iTunes.
Okay. So either one of those, if you type in Langston Center 365, Community History 365, it will bring up the entire season. We actually ended it with a tribute to Miss Callie Reed. We did that, and we're working on some other things. It goes all the way from the inception of Langston in 1893, all the way up to 1965, and then some other stories gone. So we just couldn't get to everybody, so
we gonna get you.
We will connect with you. I like what you said. We had a young man who was able to actually go in and interview, pull from that interview, and we gave it to narrator.
Good.
And then we came together and recorded it, and we mixed it and mastered it. So it's a professional project that we are very proud of here at the Langston Center. So please, we encourage you to go, download it, share it. If you're like me, sometimes you hear these stories, but in the hustle and bustle, we kind of forget the details. We work very hard to make sure that we put all of the details in there. So if we got something wrong, please let us know. If we got everything right, please like it, share it, let everyone know that is something that we want to keep
Amen.
going,
Absolutely.
so that we do not forget our history and our
You
heritage.
can hear more Sheila on the Appleseed.
And you can hear more Sheila
on the Appleseed podcast, but thank you. Yes.
So, yes.
This is y'all's time. Thank you so much.
You guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Absolutely. That was great. Thank you. And I'd forgotten about that.